4 people are feared dead after a light aircraft and a helicopter crashed in mid-air over the Buckinghamshire countryside this afternoon. The aircraft are believed to have crashed just 15 minutes after taking off from Wycombe Air Park, which trains rookie pilots. Wreckage fell from the sky near the Rothschild family's Waddesdon Manor, 16 miles northwest of the airfield, just after midday. Residents in the nearby village of Upper Winchenden heard a loud bang and could see and smell a plume of black smoke from the crash scene. The pilot of the helicopter and its single passenger, as well as the pilot and a passenger of the plane, are all feared to have died in the crash, which happened at around 1,000 feet. Pictures from the scene show fragments of the helicopter's rotor blades and the plane's fuselage scattered around the woodland floor. Aerial footage from above the site where the helicopter and plane collided in mid-air this afternoon. 4 people, 2 from each aircraft, are feared dead following the crash at 1,000 feet. Those on the scene say no one survived the crash, which left smoldering wreckage near the grounds of the Waddesdon Manor. Police have now set up evidence tents at the site. A piece of fin, thought to be the tail end of the small, Cessna plane involved, was visible. A plume of smoke was seen over the woodland shortly after the 2 aircraft came down. The aircraft came down near Upper Winchenden near Aylesbury, to the northwest of London. A local resident told Mail Online, "My father heard a loud bang. He ran up to the scene. It was clear pretty quickly that no one has survived. My mother said a man, who I think was someone who had been out walking nearby, went running up to the manor to say there had been a crash. Everyone is now helping the emergency services. At least 7 fire engines and 3 search and rescue vehicles rushed to the scene after the first 999 call came in at 12:06 p.m. Related articles previous. 1 Next. Stoned driver sped through a red light and killed a couple. Suspects go on the run after BMW being chased by police runs. Share this article. Share script dm.later, bundle, function, if, dm.rotator, new dm.rotator, p29, pages eyes, 1, page count, 1.0, active class, active, rotate, false, $, number p29.share.on, click, function, dms.facebook.post related. Police vehicles arrived at the crash site and officers have put up evidence tents in the woodland. Crash experts are attempting to piece together what happened. Rescue workers had launched the fire brigade's drone over the fallen wreckage in a bid to locate any survivors, but it is understood no one was taken to hospital. Flight data shows a 2-seater helicopter was flying at 1,025 feet in the area at the time, but suddenly went off radar shortly after 12 noon. It had only been in the air for 15 minutes. The plane that crashed is believed to be a Cessna 152, a popular training aircraft which has space for only 1 pilot and 1 passenger. Police close to the crash site in the Buckinghamshire woodland today. It is feared no one on board either aircraft survived the crash. Police have accessed the woods and set up a cordon around where the 2 aircraft came down. Photos from the scene show police tents have been set up where the 2 planes came down. Fire engines and police were seen at the entrance to the estate as crash investigators took over. A Cessna 152 took off from Wycombe Air Park around the same time as the helicopter and disappeared from radar at the same time. The plane thought to have been involved was made in 1982. The helicopter feared to have crashed was built earlier this year. Both the aircraft feared to have crashed made successful loops this morning, suggesting that they were being used repeatedly for pilots training. Staff from the Waddesdon estate, which is managed by a foundation set up by the eminent Rothschild family, helped direct emergency vehicles to the scene of the tragedy as police threw up a massive cordon around the area to preserve the scene. The Grand Country Manor House, which was used in the filming of The Crown and the Queen starring Helen Mirren, is understood to have been hosting a Christmas market at the time of the crash. Staff from the Air Accident Investigation Branch have been drafted in to begin an inquiry into what led to the mid-air collision. This helicopter disappeared off radar at 12 p.m. today whilst flying over Waddesdon 15 minutes after it took off from Wycombe Air Park, which has confirmed its aircraft were involved. This Cessna 152 took off from the same airfield around the same time as the helicopter. This was the scene at the airfield where the planes took off this afternoon. A helicopter similar to that feared to have been involved in the crash remains on the ground. How did the mid-air crash happen? The helicopter, a 2017 French-built Gamble Cabri G2, took off for its second flight for the day from High Wycombe at 11:47 am. According to data from Flight Radar 24, the aircraft had earlier successfully completed a 30-minute flight. The aircraft took off en route north over the Chiltern Hills area of natural beauty. Within 5 minutes it was flying at 1,025 feet at 60 kts approaching Prince's Risborough. The helicopter, a 2017 French-built Gamble Cabri G2, took off for its second flight for the day from High Wycombe at 11:47 am. The helicopter, which can carry 2 people, continued towards Waddesdon. At 12 noon the aircraft was last seen at 1,025 feet to the east of Upper Winchendon. 3 minutes before the crash, a Cessna 152 which was built in 1982, was northwest of Prince's Risborough at 2,800 feet and travelling at around 70 kts. The flight tracking radar did not record the Cessna leaving Wycombe Park Aerodrome, although it is believed it departed shortly after the helicopter. 1 minute before impact, the Cessna is believed to have increased its altitude to 3,700 feet, but at its final radar return moments before the accident showed it dropped down to below 2,800 feet. Flight crash investigators will want to determine how an aircraft apparently 1,700 feet above the helicopter shortly before the crash could have been ended up being involved in a collision. Like the helicopter, the Cessna was also on its second flight of the day. A spokesman for Thames Valley Police said, "Officers are currently at the scene of an air accident near the village of Waddesdon near Aylesbury. The force is coordinating the response to the incident which was reported at 12:06 p.m. today. The Air Accidents Investigation Branch has been informed and staff are en route to the scene. Fire and ambulance services are also in attendance and preservation of life is first priority. In consequence of this incident it is expected that there will be some disruption to the road network around Waddesdon for the rest of the day." The spokesman later added, "We're aware of a number of casualties following an incident this afternoon in Waddesdon, Aylesbury. There were a number of road closures following the incident, which have now been lifted. We will provide further updates when available." Police vehicles surrounded the scene this afternoon as the investigation got underway. Fire crews and rescue workers raced to the scene after the first reports of the crash came in. An air ambulance landed on a nearby field although it is not thought anyone went to hospital. Aerial footage shows police activity in woodland setback not far from a local road. A spokesman for the AAIB said at the time of the crash, "The Air Accidents Investigation Branch is sending a team to investigate a mid-air collision involving an aircraft and a helicopter near Aylesbury." RAF Halton, which is around 10 miles away, said no military aircraft had been involved. A spokesman said, "We can confirm that neither of the aircraft concerned has a connection with either our Air Force nor the military, and this is as much as we know at this time." Country residents starred in films, The History of Waddesdon Manor and its billionaire owners. Today's mid-air crash happened above the grounds of a manor built for one of the world's richest families, the Rothschilds. The billionaire banking dynasty owned Waddesdon Manor from when it was built in 1889 until they gifted it to the National Trust in 1957. The family's banking business was established by Mayor Amschel Rothschild, born in 1744, in Frankfurt in the 1760s. The aircraft came down near the Grand Waddesdon Manor. A man believed to have been walking nearby ran up to the manor to tell staff what had happened. Waddesdon Manor, shown here in 1890, was built between 1874 and 1889 in the Neo-Renaissance style of a French chateau for Baron Ferdinand de Rothschild. The name Rothschild is derived from the House of the Red Shield, Rothschild, which was built by Mayer's ancestors in one of the first Jewish ghettos in the German city in the 16th century. Through Mayer's 5 sons, Amschel, Salomon, Nathan, Carl, and Jacob, he set up an international banking enterprise with branches in London, Paris, Vienna, and Naples, as well as Frankfurt, by the 1820s. The family's banking business was established by Mayor Amschel Rothschild in Frankfurt in the 1760s. Nathan, in particular, made huge profits via the Napoleonic Wars. He provided financial support to the Duke of Wellington and went on to loan money to English troops fighting Napoleon, netting healthy profits when the debts were repaid. In the 19th century, the Rothschilds owned the largest private fortune in the world. The dynasty's wealth today has been divided among various descendants, and, in addition to banking and finance, has its interests in mining, energy, real estate, and winemaking. The Rothschild family is also known for its charitable activities, particularly in the arts and education. The last time Waddesdon Manor was owned by a member of the family was in 1957, when it belonged to James de Rothschild. He bequeathed the house and its contents to the National Trust, and today it is managed by the Rothschild Foundation chaired by Jacob Rothschild, 4th Baron Rothschild. Boris Johnson met Lord Rothschild at the manor in 2014 for the opening of an exhibition. Beth Rothschild, Jacob's daughter, still lives on the estate. Born in 1964, she is a vice president of the Wiltshire Blind Association, and she is a trustee of the Rothschild Foundation. Beth married Antonio Goffredo Tomasini in 1991. With 390,000 visitors annually, Waddesdon Manor is one of the Trust's most visited properties. It has featured in several films and TV shows, including The Queen, which starred Helen Mirren, Downton Abbey, where it stood in for the exterior of the fictional Haxby Park, and The Crown, the biographical TV series about Queen Elizabeth II. Mrs. James de Rothschild outside Waddesdon Manor in 1979.